Hi, my name is Jesse O'Brien. I'm a keyboard player from Hamilton, Ontario, currently in the Colin James band, and with Tom Wilson and Lee Harvey Osmond. I started playing piano when I was 8. A couple years later, my parents got me my first keyboard, which was actually a Yamaha DX27. I just fell for all the sounds in it, and I played the piano off it, but I did my first show with my father, and I played some Jerry Lee Lewis, and I remember even using some of the drum sounds off it, because it was such a state-of-the-art keyboard at the time. That made me want to pursue music, just hearing the sounds that I heard on the radio in a keyboard as a 10-year-old. When I was a teenager, I played a lot with Ronnie Hawkins. There's way too many crazy stories, but one of them was we were doing a festival, and on the festival was Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and the band. And we opened for the band. And I had already met Levon Helm and played with him once before, but they invited us to play with them. We played 4 songs. That's an unforgettable experience. We were in Edmonton at Northlands Coliseum with Ronnie once, and on the bill was Jerry Lee Lewis. And Peter Pocklington, who had owned the stadium and the guy that traded Gretzky, he wanted to have a duel between me and Jerry Lee afterwards. So he had security set up my P250 in the lounge at Edmonton Northlands Coliseum and had me play some boogie woogie. And I watched him hand Jerry Lee thousands of dollars to come over and play one song on my 250.
Amazing.
Yeah. I was just lucky to be there. I was a kid. My favorite gig I've ever played would be London Blues Festival with Levon Helm and the Barnburners. The night before, Levon had played at the Silver Dollar in Toronto, and I didn't go, and my father went down and said to say hi for me, and Levon just told my dad, "Tell Jesse we're in London tomorrow night and bring out a piano." And it was one of those moments where you thought he might be joking or just being nice, but we showed up the next night, and sure enough, it was the same road manager from the band that I had met years earlier. Welcomed me in, set up my Yamaha on the stage, and it was kind of like a hometown guy playing with Levon at the Blues Fest. And then years later, I played there with Colin James too, which was also a treat. When I first got the YC, I plugged it into my computer, and the first thing I noticed is it just ran my whole home studio perfectly. And then the first organ preset came up, and it just made me want to play right away. It just had a fabulous sound. My first impression is just how fantastic it ran the studio and the sound, so I can just picture playing it live also in combination with the CP88, because I think together they just make a dynamic duo. Yes, I'll just use it as a vintage organ and manipulate it in real time. So I just basically was dealing with the drawbars as they came up. I love the drawbars. My favorite part is they feel good and they also look great. They're lit. The light is, it just makes them look cool. The waterfall keys just feel fantastic. I like moving it from H1 to H2. It just seems to have a real thickness and a warmth to it that I really dig. Well, it comes with the percussion was on. So you can mess with taking the percussion off, and you've got drive distortion right here. Reverb level you can mess with right here. It just emulates a vintage organ so great, and the way the effects are all laid out, the way you can change the rotary speaker, it's just in the perfect position. The piano sound in it, it's not even comparable to other keyboards in its field, and it just makes you want to play. Yes, it's the same sound, which is fantastic. So it's fantastic to have the same sound in a more portable keyboard. I'm a set it and play. I just leave it right where it is. Just sounds great to me. But you've got your amp and your reverb and everything right in front of you. If you want anything, it's right there. Every sound man we've used it in Colin James' band just raves about how great it sounds, and it's got a real warm high end. Even if you're playing some rock and roll, you can really dig in, and it's got a warmth that I'm not used to hearing in a keyboard. I used the CP88 on the new Colin James record in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago, and I used the YC61 for an organ track for a band out in Nashville just this week. They loved the sample, and it's going to be on the record. Because I think when you're recording, especially in a band situation with guitars, if it sounds great and the part's great, that's what's going to work. Sometimes multiple guitars with multiple guitar amps. Yamaha always finds its place in the mix, and the perfect amount of brightness just cuts through compared to other keyboards, I find. I don't. This is it right here, babe.
This is your organ.
You got it.
Amazing.
My old organ is already sold.